It is another beautiful Monday, and we are together for the single life. So, welcome, welcome, welcome to everybody getting on, joining the chat, joining the stream. As always, I appreciate you guys for jumping in. And I really want to get active today. We got, of course, it's the single life, like I said. And I don't know, man. Sometimes I go back and forth on to which one I enjoy more. And some Mondays I feel like I enjoy my choice more, but that's because fitness is like right. And then other days it's the single life. Like I enjoy this, so it's not a. I don't know. I don't. They're like both of them are like my children. I don't enjoy one more than the other. I just appreciate you all, and I appreciate you all jumping in and coming to just kind of learn and get active and engage and share. Just as much as you learn, I hope that you learn on the stream. I learn as we engage with each other. I'm always in the chat, paying attention to you guys' commentary. So keep that going. But without further ado, let's get into it, man. Let's get into another edition of the Single Life. I promise you, I have been trying to close out this distraction series, but I have not been able to let it go. Right, I haven't been able to let it go. So I don't know how many more installments we have in distractions under the single life. Somebody said they can't see me. Are you the only person that can't see me? Because I haven't seen that from anybody else. So can you guys see me and hear me? Let's make sure we're good. Me today. Let's see. Please let me know. See me and hear me. Yes, yes, no, something, anything. Can you guys see me and hear me? Can't see you. No, you guys can't see me. All right, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. I'm gonna jump on from. Not sure why that's doing that, but all right, I got you guys. Hold on. I will go live from my phone again. I don't know why my iPad doesn't like to be friends with us on Monday, but it's not a problem. We will still make it work. Still do what we do every Monday. All right, no, you hear me. You guys say you hear me, but yeah, okay. All right, here we go. Boom, into the studio. So let's go. Bad, boom. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, so can you guys hear and see me now? Let's get that clear. Can you guys hear and see me now? I want to make that. Can you guys hear and see me now? What about now? What about now? Hear and see? Yes, no, maybe so. Hear and see. Now, yes. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, bet, bet, bet. All right, so here we are. Thank you. All right, so boom, welcome, 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 welcome to the single life. Let's get into it, right? So, like I said, I've been trying to close out this banner of distractions under the series of the single life, but for whatever reason, I can't seem to let it go. So we got another installment of the distractions in the single life today, right? So I want to talk to you guys from this perspective. I want you to think on one thing for me. And you guys, anybody that knows me knows I love to cook. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen, right? So I noticed though, oftentimes I will go in the grocery store and I'll force myself to try to be disciplined in the grocery store, right? So I'll say this. I will jot down a list in my notepad on my phone. And just follow me, you'll see where I'm going, right? So I'll jot down a list on my phone of exactly what I need. And I will tell myself, George, we are going in to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the number is, and we walking back out. Like that's the end of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we are walking back out. Listen, let me tell y'all, I am not disciplined in the grocery store. I'm not. I have understood that about myself. I'm not disciplined because when I go in the grocery store, I always tend to get what? Distracted. I always tend to get distracted because I'll have my list, right? And then I'll just wander down an aisle that I know I like, right? Like sauces aisle. I'm gonna always go down the sauces and the seasonings. Like I'm gonna always wander down those two aisles and just kind of, well, let me just see what they have. Guess what happens? I just took a detour off my route and I opened myself up for distractions. Now, do I enjoy those distractions? Yes. Do I feel like those distractions make me better? Yes, because like I may get some new seasonings that I didn't have before. Probably don't need. If y'all have paid attention to the My Plate, My Choice series, you know my seasoning cabinet is full top to bottom. All three tiers are full of seasoning. So I have enough, right? But I tend to get distracted.
I tend to get distracted. And we got to understand that oftentimes we open ourselves up to these distractions because they what? They look good. Distractions tend to look good. Distractions tend to make us feel good. So we open that door and we give that leeway to those distractions in life. Now, in the dating game, in the single phase, in the single life, we kind of move off that same beat. We dance to that same beat because we allow ourselves openings for distractions. And the distraction doesn't necessarily have to be the person of the opposing sex. You do understand that a distraction could be God has you on a specific assignment, on a specific path, and you choose to go do something else because you felt like doing it. That is a distraction. You allowed your feelings to lead you down a path that results in a distraction, right? So now let's table that. All right, so let's think about it. Keeping with distractions and keeping with how distractions, like we tend to go off how distractions look, right? So I want you to think about it. And my dad talked a bit about this. He was doing a conference and he started talking about Noah's Ark. And I want to draw a comparison to those things because all of us have traveled, I guess, right? We traveled, right? And we have truly seen some marvels, like some things to truly wonder about, right? Like truly architectural genius when you look at certain things, agree or disagree, right? Like you go to certain resorts or certain hotels or you visit certain landmarks and it's like, oh my God, like how did y'all do that? Like this is absolutely amazing. Like this is beautiful. Like the setup of this, the way you guys crafted this, the way you guys put this together, it is absolutely beautiful, right? Like we will say that when we get to certain, and we just marvel at it. Now I need you to back up way into history, and I need you to go back to Noah's Ark. And our pastor said, he said, man, listen. He said, Noah was out there building. Noah said, just like he said it, Noah was building a ragtag ship. Noah was building a ragtag ship, SHIP. Noah was building a ragtag ship. The ship didn't look beautiful. It wasn't that the ship it didn't look like a modern day cruise ship. It wasn't perfectly lined up and perfectly put together and everything was beautifully symmetrical and cut and painted and all this. It wasn't that. The ship was a ragtag ship. It was put together by Noah, who wasn't even a carpenter. Think about that, right? Think about that. He was just out there just, hey man, I'm just moving as God calls me to move, right? So it wasn't based on looks. Did the ark keep them safe? Absolutely. It did. It did. It did. Did the ark keep them from perishing like the rest of the world? Absolutely. Did the ark do its job? Yes, it did. It stayed afloat for as long as it needed to stay afloat. If it needed to stay afloat longer, it would have stayed afloat longer. It did its job because it wasn't based off looks. But a lot of times in the single phase, we make decisions based off of looks. We start to go off based on what looks good. Ah, man, I think that might be a good fit. I think that might look good for me. So I'm gonna make that choice. I'll give you a prime example, another example, right? So, a couple of months ago, my dishwasher, I don't know, it was doing this weird thing, right? And I bought those pods, you know, the little pods, right? That you throw in there, you closed up in the little seal thing or whatever. I threw the pods in there, and I would wash it, and then it would just create these soap suds, like maybe 10 minutes into running a cycle. Like the guy called it sudsing. Like it would start making these suds like oozing out the sides of the dishwasher and all down the bottom of the dishwasher, and like I would have to turn it off because my kitchen floor would be covered with soap suds, right? And so I called the people to come out here, and they look at it, and the guy's looking at it, and he's like, man, I can't figure it out. He's like, nothing's broken with it. I just can't figure it out. And he's like, well, what are you? Because he's running it, but he's running it with just like initially just water. He wants to see if it's a leak, right? And so then he says, well, what do you use when you run your cycles? What do you use? And I was like, oh, I use these pods. So boom, I show him the pod. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah. So he literally has to call his supervisor. And they're talking. And he comes back, he says, you know what? He said, we figured out what it is. He said, this is an older dishwasher. He said, now I'm gonna tell you something. He said, and we know this because people say this all the time, they don't make stuff like they used to make it, right? He said, they don't make it like they used to make it. He said, so the older dishwashers, they're way more aggressive. He said, so when you throw those pods in there with the level of aggression that it has and agitation that it has in there, he says it creates this excess, these which is what they call sudsing. It creates the excess suds. He's like, so you got to go back to the older liquid. He was like, you need to go back to the liquid, the little pouring liquid. And he's like, so once you do that, it should be fine. So I was like, well, let me shoot to the store. Ran to the store, got some, put that in there. Boom, no problems. So what was the issue? What was the issue? The issue was, see, the new stuff, the new appliances that may be touchscreen, the new appliances that you can control from your phone, the newer appliances, they look good, but they don't work as well. We going off looks though. We're going off looks. And I'm saying a lot of times in this single phase that we exist in or that we are operating in, we tend to lean too much on looks. That's why the text says, so we walk by faith and not by sight, because our job is not to go off looks. Our job is not to go off of what we see. We are essentially supposed to act as if we are blind and not see what's ahead of us because we're too busy walking by faith. But we lose it in looks because we want it to look good. We want it to look good. And if it doesn't look good, then we tend to what? Not to want it. But don't worry, I got you, right? I got you. I got you. I got you. So here's the thing. Let's jump to this. Let's look at Hebrews 11:1. Hebrews 11:1. I'm gonna have to pull this up on my iPad because I had it up on my phone, but now we're switching. So don't worry, I got you. Hebrews 11:1. Um, you guys feel free to pull it up on your own notes if you want to. All right, so Hebrews 11:1, right? Hebrews 11:1. Now, faith is the confidence in what we hope for and the assurance about what we do not see. Again, now faith is the confidence. This is the NIV version. Now, faith is the confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. See, the thing is, we often operate too much in a space that we want God to show us. God, I need you to show me this. God, I need you to show it to me. And we need it to make sense and pass the eye test. That's the problem. We're waiting on it to pass the eye test. What is the eye test? It needs to look like what I imagine this mode of transportation or this person or this thing should look like. We are waiting on the looks to match what we believe that it should look like. And God says, I don't need you to worry or be concerned about looks. I need you to operate off faith. You cannot become distracted. See, looks often serve as a what? Distraction. So when we are in this space where we're not supposed to be distracted, where we are supposed to remain focused and supposed to have tunnel vision, we allow ourselves to get distracted by things. And God's like, listen, don't focus on that. You're supposed to be walking by faith. What you mean it don't look like what you thought it was going to look like? Does it get the job done though? Does it get the job done? Is it exactly what you need? We've got to allow God to operate and move as He desires to move, not as we desire Him to move. Because you think about it, if we just go off our decision making, we haven't made the best decisions. Y'all don't want to be honest about that part. We haven't made the best decisions. How many of you have ever gone to a car dealership and bought a car because it looked good and it drove good and you were profiling in it, and then it started having issues? And then the issues started to pile up. And then you started to notice that looks don't necessarily equate to a good car. Okay, y'all didn't like that. Don't worry. Have you ever been to a restaurant and ordered something based off a picture or based off like you saw somebody get something and it went to their table and you said, oh, that looked good. I just changed my mind. What I wanted based on what I read on the menu, I no longer want because now I want what they have because it looks good. That is a distraction. And we allow ourselves in this single phase to be distracted by looks. And God says, I need you to focus on purpose. I need you to focus on assignment, not focus on looks. And again, I'm not just talking about the opposite sex. You can be distracted in the single phase by more than just the opposite sex. You can be distracted by a job. You can be distracted by obligations. You can be distracted by friends. There are so many distractions that we yield ourselves to that God says, I just need you to remain focused on what I'm calling you to do. In this single phase, it's the time for you to enjoy yourself, right? It is the time for you to enjoy yourself, but it's also the time for you to be focused. It's also the time for you to be in lockstep with God so that the moment that another person comes in, you've already got your routine established, right? I'm not waiting on you to establish a routine with me or for me. I already have my routine with God established. Now we can join that thing because this is the perfect fit because I didn't go get you, God brought you here. Yeah, see, a lot of times we go get what we want. Like we go, like just like we go to the store and we go grocery shopping for what we want. We think that that's what dating should look like. I'm gonna just grocery shop for the man or the woman that I want. Ah, that looks good. Let me try that. Nah, that didn't work. Okay, this looks good. Let me try that. No, that didn't work. I only like light skin. Okay, let me try that. That didn't work. Well, I only like black. Well, let me try that. That didn't work. Well, let me try white. Well, let me try Hispanic. It doesn't see. We get into this phase of doing what looks good. See, now we're becoming distracted because we're trying to make decisions based off what we see. And the word says, for we are to walk by faith and not by sight, because God already knew if you only walk by sight, you're going to always be distracted. Always. Because there's always going to be something that catches your attention. You've got to understand the whole setup of a grocery store is based on marketing, and they have understood what the human mind likes to see when it walks in a grocery store, which is why they set things up in tiers. They set the most unhealthy items up on eye level, the things that are going to catch your eye, because typically we're going to look at eye level. We're not going to look up and we're not going to look down. We're going to look at eye level. That's a distraction, and they understand how to play on those distractions. So you think the enemy doesn't understand how to play on the same distractions? Come on now, you smarter than this. You're smarter than this. You know the enemy knows your weaknesses. He knows what you get distracted by. He knows where your lack of understanding or your lack of discipline is. He knows that. He knows that. All right, don't worry about it. I got you. We're gonna go here. I'm gonna pull up another scripture for you. I want 2 Corinthians 5:7 is what I'm gonna read. 2 Corinthians 5:7, right? 2 Corinthians 5:7. The NIV version again says what? For we live by faith and not by sight. For we live by faith and not by sight. Why does the text put such emphasis on making sure that we have an understanding that our sight is not how we should be driven in the world? We should be driven by what? Our faith. So when it comes to certain things, when it comes to certain items and certain items that we select or that we're diving into, that we're diving into, we are to be driven by faith. Because again, distractions are all around us. I need you to think about how many times you've operated in a space and you said, man, I'm not going to be distracted. I'm going to stay focused. They're not going to get me on this one. I'm going to stay focused. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to lock in. And then what happens? Maybe it wasn't the distraction. Maybe it wasn't the distraction that you thought was coming. It wasn't the distraction you thought was coming. It wasn't the direction you thought the distraction was going to move in. It came from a completely opposing direction or situation. There was a different level. And guess what? You thought you were prepared for one distraction, but when the other distraction came, you fell victim to it. That's why our job right now in the single phase and in the single life is to strengthen our faith. It is to strengthen it. It is to grow in your faith. It is to practice that thing. It is to make sure that I am in a such a place that God speaks and I hear. Because faith comes by what? Y'all know? Faith comes by what? Hearing. How then can you grow in faith if you are unable to hear? Help me with that. How can I reasonably expect to grow in faith if I do not ever hear God? Well, how can I not hear God? Because I continue to allow myself to be distracted. And every time that I allow myself to be distracted, I am opening the door for things that God didn't desire for my life. That's what I'm doing because I open myself up. My distractions, again, I'm going to tell you guys, I'll say this again. Your distractions will not only come from the places that you think they will come from, they will also come from unexpected places. They will come from unpredicted places because you are now being tested to say, will I remain in faith? Will I remain in faith? Will I remain on track? Will I keep pushing? See, the single life, again, in this place that we operate in, God and us are like this. That's the design system. God and us are like this. God, I hear you, you speak, I respond. And I'm not saying you perfect it. I'm not saying you're gonna get to the place where it's perfect. I don't care who you are. Like no one's perfect. So we're all going to have those issues and things that we still battle with, those things that we still work through, those areas that we still have to grow in. We're all going to have those things that exist. That won't ever go anywhere. But the goal has to be focus. The goal has to be, I'm not opening myself up for distractions. See, in other areas of your life, you make decisions to avoid distractions. You say, all right, listen, I'm not going to be able to go over here with this group because I know this group likes to do this particular thing. And I don't like to do that. And I'm trying to get away from that. So I cannot go with this group. I've got to stay on track. Those types of decisions are the same decisions that we've got to begin to make in the single phase. You like, man, why am I still here? I've said it before, because there are things that we keep avoiding, that we keep choosing not to work on. You're making a decision not to work on it. Is it easy to work on those things that we know force us to look in the mirror and say, man, this is a major flaw. This is a vital flaw of mine. This is an area that I really have to grow in. Do we really just look forward to jumping in that? No. It's like eating right. There are times where I'll cook and I'll have all my meal preps in the freezer and in the refrigerator. And just because they're in there doesn't mean I want to eat them. Now, do I need to? Yes. Are they going to help me stay on my goal and stay on track? Yes. But I don't necessarily want to. So I'm saying that to you as I close right here. Make yourself be available to God in a way like never before. Make yourself be available to God in a way like never before. God, I open myself to you, God, and guide me. Lead me. I don't want to walk by, I don't want to be driven by what I see. I don't want to be driven by my emotions. I don't want to be driven by feelings. God, I want to be driven by you. I want to be driven by you. And I know that's much easier said than done. I promise you. I understand it is easier said than done. But it's something that we have to practice, because I know this in all sports that I played, and even in time when I in the time period when I was coaching. One thing we understood: practice makes perfect. You gotta keep practicing. You gotta keep practicing. You don't just do it one time and say, "All right, that was enough. I did it." No, you keep practicing. So how do I practice my faith? How do I continue to grow in my faith? Well, number one, I understand again, faith comes by hearing. So I've got to put myself in a place where I can hear God. How do I hear God? From time with Him. I hear God from time, Time. Time with God is how I hear God and how I grow in that space. You want God to reveal the plan to you and to outline, but you don't want to give Him the time to share it with you. Y'all know we got to do better. We got to do better. So, again, I tell you all, I'm teaching you and I'm teaching myself, because we are all in this thing together. This is all something that we're working on together. This is all a space that we are learning in together. So let's keep working, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. We work together and we keep each other uplifted. And that's the way this thing works. Listen, I appreciate y'all for checking out another session. Y'all stay in faith, and I will catch you beautiful.